not stopping him, say he too small.
Hey, so when I stop him, y'all gonna say he was too weak.
On my life.
And he stayed at 147.
He would not stop.
Too long.
He would not stop.
Okay.
Crazy.
Stopping him say he too small.
Hey, so when I stop him, y'all gonna say he was too weak.
On my life.
And he stayed at 147.
He would not stop.
Too long.
He would not stop.
Okay.
Crazy.
Fight fans all over the world, this is Daddy P. Hey, look, man, I just want to give y'all a classic, a classic look at how it looks, man, when trash talk goes completely wrong. You know what I'm saying? In a fight. Look, man, hey, anytime you have a fight between two people, man, hey, it is what it is. But I'm going to tell you this right here, man. Boxing is fights that are sanctioned by a commission, and they have rules. They have weight rules. They have rules to where they have weight classes for a reason. And I'm gonna tell you this right here, bro. Every time a boxing match is announced, especially a high-profile boxing match, each team has at least 4 to 6 months notice, before the fight is going to happen. I mean, this is high-profile stuff. You know what I'm saying? And between Errol, Spence, and Terrence Crawford, man, these guys, once they decided to get it on, they had opportunities to be very well prepared. Both teams, they had enough time to be very well prepared for the fight. Errol, Spence coming into it, both guys talked a lot of trash. Errol Spence, however, was a lot more vocal and a lot more animated. And I'm going to tell you this right here, man. A lot of Errol Spence fans they didn't call it making excuses. They say they just giving a reason why, he lost the fight. Well, man, everybody know what sports is. Sports is we're going to pick a day, we're going to pick a time, we're going to pick a place, and we're going to get it on. That's what sports is. Whatever happens, may the best man win. In this particular case, it was a boxing match between two people, which was a highly anticipated matchup, that people have been waiting for at the least 5 years. You know what I'm saying? So these guys, the public, they've been, begging these guys to get it on, begging these guys to fight, and finally they signed to fight, and then they had so much time to get ready. They had a training camp where they would get ready for the fight, and then the fight happened, man. Hey, Terrence Crawford won the fight, and, now Errol Spence Jr. fans just, got a lot of excuses or reasons why he didn't win the fight. Now, this is the thing, man. The fight was held at 147 pounds, and like I said, this is a sanctioned fight with rules, and they have weight classes for a reason. Errol Spence Jr. have been at the 147-pound weight class for some time, and that was the reason why, one of the factors why I picked Crawford to win, because Errol Spence had been at the weight for so long, and he had a lot of other variables going on, like training camps after a bad car accident. The more training camps you have, the more grueling it is on your body. And he had training camps after he had a bad car accident, and he did beat 2 different guys, after he came back from that accident. He beat a very high level guy in Danny Garcia, who is he was a world class championship fighter, champion in 2 different weight classes, and hey, I mean, a very high profile fighter. Then you got your Danish Ugas, who also a championship. Matter of fact, he took your Danish Ugas championship belt. Errol Spence did. At the time, your Danish Ugas had that WBA Super Championship belt for the 147-pound division. And by beating your Danish Ugas, Errol Spence, took home that WBA strap, to add to his unification. So, He did have a bad car accident. He did come back. He beat 2 high-level fighters. But when it came time to fight Terrence Crawford, to say the least, it was some back and forth, some trash talk. I'm going to play a couple of clips for you, and one of them is 2 weeks out from the fight. Errol Spence he had on this promoter hat this particular time. Y'all know he promotes Frank Martin. And in the fight where Frank Martin had won a fight, Errol Spence got in the ring after the fight. He was talking to Jim Gray, and Jim Gray asked him some very specific questions about the training camp, about his weight, and about how he felt about the fight that was coming up, where they were 2 weeks out from the fight. And y'all will hear what Errol Spence says, and I'm gonna quote. Hey, listen, I'm gonna give y'all a little bit of rundown. He said that he had a good training camp. He did say that his weight was on point, and if his weight wasn't on point, he said he wouldn't be there at that particular event, alluding to the fact that if he wasn't on weight, he would probably be somewhere trying to get on his weight. But he said his weight was on point. He said he had a good training camp and that he was ready to get it on with Terrence Crawford and fight in a fight that was going to be a one-sided butt whipping. That's what he said. He was a lot more vulgar. I'm using the rated PG version. He said that it was going to be a one-sided beating. Okay, and these guys have been talking a lot of trash over the years. You know, they were cited at a particular boxing match backstage where they were talking a lot of trash, and, you know, both guys back and forth, a little banter, and it was real good for those guys to get together and talk a little trash to each other, as they had not fought yet. A lot of people had been talking about the fight, and one of the things Terrence Crawford said was, when I knock you out, people are going to say that you stayed at the weight class of 147 too long and you was too weak. And Errol Spence said, nah, on my life, you ain't going to knock me out. And he said, when I knock you out, they going to say you too small. And then, you know, leading up to the fight, Errol Spence made so many different comments about Terrence Crawford and how he was going to just break his will. You know, he had a lot of things he was saying that was going to go on in the fight. But y'all see how the fight played out. After the fight played out, a lot of people gave excuses that Errol Spence didn't look the same. But I'm going to tell you this right here, man. Before the fight, one of the things that I said was, if you guys know anything about boxing, man, look, when fighters are trying to make weight, they do deplete their bodies. And one of the things they do is dehydrate themselves, and then they rehydrate after they make the weight. And one of the things that happens when they rehydrate, sometimes their body don't take to the rehydration as well. But one of the things that show you how they've rehydrated is and how their body responds to it is when they get in the ring. Usually they try to work up a sweat so they don't get caught what they call cold. Because if you get caught cold, you can get knocked like square out easily. And, you know, so a lot of times they work up a good sweat. And if a boxer is nice and wet coming into the ring, hey, look, usually their body has responded well to the rehydration. And I remember thinking at the beginning of the fight, Errol Spence looked very wet. You know, Terrence Crawford looked a little dry. And I picked Terrence Crawford to win, so I was a little worried, thinking that, hey, man, you know, there had been some talk about both guys making weight and it being a little hard for him, and Terrence Crawford as well. So I took it that, dog, man, Terrence Crawford looked a little dry. I was worried. But, man, when they came into the fight, the first round, Errol Spence looked very strong. I don't know what people talking about. He ain't looked the same. He came out pumping his jab. He came out very vibrant. And it wasn't until that second round when he got knocked down. He got hit on the top of his head, and after that, I admit his equilibrium looked off. He did look unsteady, but that was after that second round. And then he came out in the third round. The beginning of the third round, he still looked very strong. He looked very strong at the beginning of the third round. But I'm going to tell you what started happening. I think his confidence began to wane away because Terrence Crawford began to do things that would make Errol Spence a little hesitant to throw his jab, and then when he did throw it, he stopped throwing it with as much authority, and Terrence Crawford started throwing his own jab that was a lot more menacing than Errol Spence's jab, and Terrence Crawford began to land his own jab with more frequency and with a lot more strength than Errol Spence's jab, and it kind of, you could see Errol Spence's confidence began to wane away. But like I said, yeah, his equilibrium was off. He was getting hit on the top of the head a lot. So y'all know what happened. He got dropped in the second. He got dropped twice in the seventh. And then they stopped the fight in the ninth round. And Terrence Crawford became the undisputed champion for the 147-pound division. That's how it went down. So, man, you know, it's a lot going on with that, man. But this is what happens when trash talk goes too far. Hey, man, and things go completely wrong in a boxing match. This is Daddy P. Like, hate, comment, subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell icon so you can be notified every time it go down. This is Daddy P, and I'm up and outie.
Let's talk about your fight. We got 2 weeks to go before you take on Terrence Crawford. It's the fight you've been waiting for an awful long time, the fight of a lifetime. How are you doing with your training and with the camp, having moved here to Las Vegas?
Training been going great. I'm ready to fight, ready to put on a great show. A one-sided ass beating.
What specifically do you need to work on now as you close in on this final week? How you doing with your weight, and how are things going in camp?
My weight doing good. It's doing fine. My weight was doing bad. I wouldn't be here tonight. So my weight's doing well. Training's going well. I can't wait. We down to 2 weeks, and I can't wait to get this show on the road and fight.
When you've been